Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager. Today, City Manager Jessica Knudsen couldn't be with us, but I am joined by two special guests. I have Chief Troy Stirling with me from the Police Department, and I also have Chief Pete Pilafas with the Fire Department with me.
Good morning.
So, we're excited for this special edition of Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager. Today's Friday, December 1st. We're going to do the format pretty much like we do if Mr. Knudsen was here with us today, but we'll go over and do updates from the city, and then we'll do updates from public safety and kind of more like an informal conversation. And then we'll take questions on anything that you may have that we discuss or anything that might be on your mind that we didn't cover. So we'll get right into it. In today's newspaper, we actually had a great article about the courthouse. The courthouse is on track and on budget and on schedule to open. We're looking to open our operations on Monday, December 11th. So the courthouse has been a long running project that we've been working on. And this is moving the municipal courthouse over into our own municipal courthouse. We've never had one. We've always been in a consolidated fashion with the Justice Court, the Superior Court, and the Municipal Court. And over the years, as our population has increased and the case filings in the court has gotten busier, we've run out of room to kind of be together. So we deconsolidated in 2019, which basically means we just kind of unraveled and all started operating together in the same space, but as separate courts in anticipation of eventually moving when we found a facility. We were able to find a facility in 2020. It's on Acoma Boulevard, just adjacent to the City Hall complex. So it's going to be very convenient for all of the other court users. So our prosecutors, our city attorney's office, the users of the municipal court, the police department, all of the other aspects that come into play. We'll be able to share the same parking lots. We'll be able to walk across the sidewalk to get over to the facility. And it'll just be much more efficient. Now, there will be a little bit of inefficiency, and that is, change is hard, and that happens anytime that we have an adjustment. There are specific purposes why folks would go to a municipal court versus the Justice Court versus the Superior Court. And so just becoming educated about that process might be a little bit difficult. And if for some reason you go to the wrong courthouse, it is quite a drive. It's across town to get to the correct one and try to be there on time. So through community outreach and conversations like we're having this morning, we'll bring that issue to light so folks understand. Obviously, just read the filing that you may have of where to appear if that's the situation of why you're going to court, or what service you need from the court for a filing so you go to the correct court. But again, we'll all be doing it with grace and education and outreach so people understand and know where they're going. But if you haven't got a chance to tour the new facility, it is quite a gem. It's going to allow us to expand our already award-winning treatment courts that we have, which is really important because it'll cut down on the recidivism rate that offenders may have in that area. We'll be able to be more efficient in the process, in the way that we can process through the court process. And that's going to happen at all levels of court because now everyone will have a little bit more space, which will allow them to be able to move folks through at a quicker pace. So really, really excited. We'll have the official grand opening in late February. The Arizona Supreme Court will come for the ribbon cutting, and we'll, of course, invite everybody to participate. What is opening on December 11th is the ground floor, so basically all of the court operations. And then in the spring, we'll open the second floor, which is the community-focused part of it. There's another community room similar to where we're at today that will have full connectivity where we can broadcast out on Channel 4 and have concurrent meetings running at the same time with technology platforms built in so we can have people attending virtually or we can get into homes and those types of things. So real exciting there, and we're real excited to be able to have that first phase open on December 11th. We also are working on our second ever citizen survey. So a couple of years ago, we did our first citizen survey, and that was a survey that we could do some benchmarking. We use a national firm that does benchmarking across the United States of what citizens believe are important attributes to their community. And then we have unique questions that are built in as well that are very specific to Lake Havasu City. That built our baseline 2 years ago, and now this will be a follow-up with new questions. Actually, a lot of them are going to be public safety focused, list, but it also will have the benchmark communities about, how safe do you think our community is? What do you like from a public open space perspective? Those types of questions that allow us to gauge and guide the process of how we administer operations at the local level to best meet the needs of our citizens. So the way this will work is just at random. The company is going to pick about 8,000 residents to reach out to. It's statistically projectable based on those results. But if you are not one of those that are chosen or selected, after the statistically projectable portion of the survey is done, that same survey will be available on our website for any citizen to take. It just won't be matriculated into the data, but it still will provide us very valuable information and resources on our community. So we invite you, if you are selected, please take advantage of it, because you're one of the lucky 8,000 people to share your voice. And if you are not one of the lucky 8,000 people and you still want to have your voice heard, please follow the link on the website and share your opinion on that as well. We also are working on the island walking path. We'll start noticing that half of the path will be closed down, not half cut in the center, half of it. So you'll be able to do like a 2-mile stretch and then just turn around and come back and do the other 2-mile stretch, a little less than 2 miles. It's about 3.6 miles completely around, but a really needed project. What the delay has been on this is we've known that it's been in disrepair and we've wanted to correct it, but we didn't have the right of way for that. And so with the island sale of that 91 acres that we talked about, probably the last 2 coffees, we were able to get the right of way. So we actually have permission now to go onto that property and be able to repair it in the manner that it needs to be done. So a really great improvement. So many recreational users and citizens of our community use that on a daily basis year round. So we're really excited to be able to have that. And then just adjacent to that is Site 6. So Site 6, we were hopeful by this time that we'd already have the contractor on site, but the signage is out there, and the area will be closed down about next week or so, about the 10th or so of December. It'll be closed until mid-April or so, hopefully sooner. The certain aspects of the park will remain open, so the fishing docks will remain open at certain intervals, but the most time sensitive is actually doing the ramp work, and that has to be done at a very time-specific format because of our permit with the Army Corps of Engineers and with the BLM. So that'll be very specific in the first work that's going to get done. So even if you drive by there and you're like, well, what are they doing? I don't see anything. It's because they're going to be down at the bottom of the ramp in the water doing the ramp work that needs to be part of that process, and then they'll start moving up. Overall, the entire ramp pitch is going to go and level out a little bit. It'll lengthen so you don't lose your trailer when you back into the area, and it'll be much easier for you to pull your boat back out so it won't be so slippery and steep when it's all said and done. So really exciting projects there as well. So now we'll transition into our discussion with the Chiefs. And again, I'm so excited to have both of you here with us this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be a part of this. So we'll start with you, Chief Stirling. You have been in the job for about a year. You were appointed chief by City Manager Jess Knutson about a year ago. Yeah. How's it going? Give us an update of your kind of a recap of your first year.
Yeah, I'm still here. No, it is hard to believe that it's almost been a year. That's the crazy part. No, it's been very good. Being welcomed in by the executive team, Jess and the executive team, council, my own team. It's been an absolutely amazing experience. Obviously, there's hurdles and gaps that go along with new administration, and so we've experienced that just like any other business would. But overall, it's been good. I went into it with a few key goals, objectives. One being really revamping or upping our game with the community engagement piece. Really looking at technology to help streamline processes, right? Make things more efficient. Sometimes that takes time for that technology to kick in, as we have learned. And then, working on some other things like our fleet maintenance. We've always, a perfect example is the 4 cars that we ordered last year, we still have not received. So it's been over a year and we still haven't gotten those, right? So trying to manage those type of things behind the scenes to ensure that our people have the equipment that they need to operate has been part of that. And in addition, kind of piggybacking off what the mayor said about the community survey, that's a huge piece to us putting together our strategic plan. I've tasked my team. We've been talking about putting together that 5-year strategic plan. We figured a big component of that would be getting, soliciting from the community. There's a section in there related to specifically the police department. And so I really need your feedback if you get that, or even if you don't, go ahead and fill out one of those surveys, because like I said, there's a big portion of that designed for us to get your feedback, right? And that helps us plan accordingly in that strategic plan. What are you guys looking for from your police department, okay? And so we felt that was a fair thing to do, and it just, timing-wise, it worked out great because Jess wanted to do that community survey anyway, the 2-year mark, and so it just, the timing was really good for us. So that's gonna be our next focus going into this, January, July type of time frame based on, budgetary, work that we're gonna be working on now and moving forward. But the biggest thing for me has always been, I took over a great organization. Chief Dan Doyle did a fantastic job. I learned under his leadership for several years. And so there was a lot of components to that I wanted to keep building upon. And that is that having the trust from our community, right? And I do feel that we have a lot of trust from the community and support. And so that's been a blessing for me. And, there's always, negative components to feedback that is given, but that's very rare. And what I have noticed is the positive comments really overpower the negative side of it. And so, we're not perfect, but that we're constantly trying to improve. And that's been the goal. And, my message to our people has always been treat people with dignity and respect. And that's going to go a long ways. And so that's really, a lot more has gone on in a year, but that's the nutshell version of that.
Yeah, it goes really quick. Chief Stirling and I share something. We both grew up here, and we both are graduates of Lake Havasu High School. So it's really exciting to see somebody that makes their way through the ranks within our department, but it also had a stint over at the Mojave County Sheriff's Department as well. So really really law enforcement background for our community from one of us, someone that lives here and grew up here. So a year goes by so quick. I look back and I even the year that I became mayor, and then where we're at now, and you're like, how did we get here, and how did that go by so quick? So thanks for sharing that.
Definitely.
So the appointment of Chief Stirling, Chief Pilafas, makes you the senior chief in the organization, right?
I guess so.
And you never rub it in.
No, I don't. And you know what, Troy? It's been a pleasure to work with Dan. It's still a pleasure to work with you and see you come up through the rank. And I think it's important that our number one assets is the customers, is the community, but it's who serves you too. And it's so important that we give every possibility, and kudos to our staff. It's a team effort. And I think our executive team and the council, we work real well together. And you've been successful in your year because you had a plan and you worked it through. So I'm proud of you. I don't have roots here, but I've created roots here. I'll be here almost 4 years in April, and it feels like 30. But I tell you, in the time that I've been here, I've seen the community grow so much and how things have changed. And I always say this is, there's two things that at least firemen don't like, is change in the way things are. And I think everybody can kind of relate with that too. It feels like a sense of losing something, but it's actually something that we're gaining as we grow too. So I don't mean to. No,
I love it. It's Chief Pilafas has been able to kind of weave himself into the fabric of our community because he has a young family. So you have children in the school system and activities and all those things. So you went right into it, and so that's probably why it feels like 30 years.
Yeah,
all the activities that we have available for our kids to chase them from here and there, and of course the department is so large. We actually have a pretty big win that happened this week. So on Monday, one of our success stories from a program that you started, what was it, 2 years ago?
So basically, just looking back, our medical transport program that we got approved through our study. And I was looking back to January of 2023 is when we presented the study to council and completed it. And in that study was looking at the medical transport. During the retreat, we gave the statistics and the reasons why we need this in our community. And I know, Mayor, you're going to come to this, is we received our letter that we've completed a substantive review. So in the how the medical transport program is regulated is through the Arizona Department of Health. So it's based on a certificate of necessity. And that certificate of necessity is the state regulates that of who can transport. Right now we have River Medical as our transport, and they're our sole transporter here in Havasu. But what we have done is through collaboration, a public-private partnership with the support of council, Jess, and really everybody, we've laid out a plan to start providing medical transport soon. We still have, I would say, about halfway through the process, but we're making it through the process, which is good. It is tedious and long, but they're just making sure that we're, number one, financially stable, that we can provide, that we have the right equipment, we have the right certifications to provide this level of service. And we've already planned for that. We already have the capabilities, we have the staffing for it. So we're turnkey, we're ready to go. And this has been one of my top priorities for the 3 years that I've been here. And I think it's important is giving the information, the data, the facts that we need to have duplication and redundancy in our medical system. There's no reason for us to wait for an ambulance for 15 minutes. So that's why, hey, we went through some hard times, back in the COVID era where staffing was different for the private and for us too. And it's just an opportunity to look at the system and say, we need to do something about it. The focus is patient care, customer service. You deserve better outcomes, better response time, better coverage area. So this is something that's really near and dear to my heart and my team too, that we provide this service to the community. As we continue to grow, that demand is going to continue to grow, and we need it. So I look forward to it. I say we're about halfway through. I was going to kind of lay down the process, but we'll probably be here for 2 hours if I did. So I just kind of cut it short that, we're making progress. I'm on top of it. The executive team kind of chuckles at me all the time because I'm calling them probably once a week just saying, hey, do you have any updates or anything like that? And they're just methodically going through our application, which we have a solid application that we put together as a team. So we look forward and we will, it's not if, it's just when we're going to be able to get that certificate of necessity to staff 2 ALS ambulances at Station 1 and 2, 24 hours a day, 365 days with paramedics. So we will always have available units here for our customers, for our visitors, that if they need to be transported to the emergency room, that we could provide that service with them, along with River Medical. And the thing is, this partnership is looking at the closest unit responding and the appropriate unit that is available. So it's not competition. We're here. We're going to work together. And it's just showing that private and public can work together for our shareholders, which is our community. So I look forward to that. I look forward to giving some further updates to council once we get a little bit closer. We've already budgeted appropriate amounts, just waiting for those unappropriated funds once we get the green light to get the CON. So I'm hoping sometime in the first quarter of 2024, or at least by the next fiscal year. So I'm very proud of my team. Again, thank you to the community. Thank you to the mayor, Jess, the council members, for believing in us that this is the right thing to do for our community.
Yeah, the chief has really been passionate, as you can tell, about this area. So, our whole goal at the city, so across all sectors of the city, is providing really reliable services to our citizens that they expect of us. So, if it's water redundancy, we've been addressing that. If it's public safety and transport redundancy, now we're addressing that. And the chief talks about it taking a long time. Part of the long time was the vision the chief had using the data that was provided by the citizens and the feedback and outreach that he did was that the Department of Health Services was so surprised that this even was a thing, that private and public were even talking to each other, and that this really was a possibility, and that there was nothing nefarious going on. I use that word of my word, not their word, but how are these people really talking to each other and really coming together? It's the first of the kind. They've never really seen it, but from some of the feedback we received, it's going to be maybe a model of the future of what we can do as communities.
Yeah, talking to the Department of Health, they would like to use ours as a model for any individuals that want to work with private and public. And our application, they would like to use as an example because of the detailed information and the study and research that we completed. And we just didn't go in there just saying we need this because of our hearts saying that, our opinions, or someone saying that we need it. We actually did a study and we figured out that this is doable for the city and it's the right thing to do. So that's how I think things take time because you need to plan for them. And then once you execute them, hey, and it's all about continuous improvement. All right, we're going to go through some bumps in the road, but we already have an agreement with River Medical for how we're going to operate via dispatch. And a lot of this stuff is like working in the background. I'll say blood, sweat, and tears. This is something I'm very passionate because this is something the community needs. And as being a community member, my family being here, it just makes it even better. Is because we're all a family. And that's why I love living in the community that I serve. Because I feel the same changes that you do. But when we make positive things, those are positive things that are happening to all of us.
Yeah, very, very nice. It's really exciting stuff. So we'll keep you posted on how all of those things come together. Chief Pilafas, you mentioned about community engagement. I know, Chief Stirling, that's been a priority for you since you came on board. We see more of a presence of your officers engaging with folks at the parks and having just conversations. And not that that didn't happen before, right, but a big focus on it, which helps on a lot of fronts. And I know that you have looked at a variety of your community engagement programs, and you have some thoughts on how you're going to change those around or involve the public in more aspects of what you're doing as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, talking about the community engagement, a lot of that is sometimes putting people in the right positions, right, to get the job accomplished. And so I was very fortunate. I tasked Sergeant Lauren Jackson with overseeing the community services unit, and it kind of had that mentality of that it's the boating unit, right? And I was trying to let's change our language because it's the community services unit. Part of their responsibilities is overseeing the boats and patrolling the channel, the Bridgewater Channel. But really tasked him with, okay, let's up our game a little bit. As simple as making time to go to the schools and having lunch with the kids, right? Small gestures like that. Our school resource officers really diving in and being methodical about what we're doing, putting strategies in place and being consistent in how we do things, and that partnership with the school district. And so we've seen very positive movement in that as well. But, little things like the community services unit creating little stickers of our police cars, our Bearcat, our SWAT, our armored vehicle, and handing those out to kids. Swag is huge, right? Kids love those things. And so any chance they get to engage with our youth has really been that priority, and they've done a great job with that. In addition, you guys have seen our efforts with really raising money for Special Olympics. That's always been, as law enforcement traditionally, part of the law enforcement torch run. That's a law enforcement function that we really jumped on board with and really upped our game. And Sergeant Jackson was a big part of that, to the extent that last year was the first year our name has been on that T-shirt for raising the amount of money that we did. That's huge. That's a huge accomplishment. It just shows that that's our commitment to that. So some of the things that we had talked about was we used to have the Citizens Police Academy. And so that's very resource intensive, and it goes over a several month period. I was like, well, our resources are like this a lot of times, and today we're down. But I figured let's try to do something where we can kind of get more people through different types of workshops versus an academy setting. And so we did our first one recently. We had a small number, which was okay because it kind of provided us an opportunity to kind of learn from that moment, right? And what we did is we opened up our training facility where we have our 360 virtual simulator that we're able to put officers through different scenarios. And it is as realistic as you can get, other than going hands-on with somebody. But it definitely is one of those scenario building proficiency skill, judgmental, use it for judgmental purposes, to get, and your heart rate skyrockets like you're actually there. And so be able to bring in some members of the community into a situation like that to talk about that training component and use of force, because use of force is a huge thing in law enforcement. Unfortunately, we see across the country the negative components to use of force that hit the newspapers, right? But use of force is really a low percentage of things that we do in our profession based on the amount of contacts we have with the public. But it was just an opportunity to be able to talk to the citizens on what our training curriculum entails, all right, and what our thought processes are and what we teach our people. And so that went very well, and our goal is to do more of those and stagger them on different days of the week. That one just happened to be on a Friday, which working folks can't necessarily get to. So we're going to stagger the days of the week so we can get more people in. And the goal behind that was to get as many people through that as possible. And we're going to have various topics throughout the year. And so that's that goal. At some point, I do want to get a Citizens Police Academy going again. I know some in the room have been through that, and it's a huge valuable tool for us, because it teaches folks about what we do, right? And it explains things in a lot more detail, where now you're our ambassadors. You go out, and when the question pops up, you're able to answer that question because you've been through this and you know what the answer is, right? And so I look forward to doing those type of things, continue to do that. But another component to that is we really need to rebuild our Citizens on Patrol program. And so this was to try to start getting some interest from those in the community that maybe want to take part in being actively involved from a volunteer standpoint. Years ago, we started a really good Citizens on Patrol program. It's tapered off with personnel. We were at 8 or 9 solid people. We're down to 2 now. And one of our, Larry Janicek, recently passed away, unfortunately, and he was a big part of that program from the start as well. And so I know Rita, her husband, Mike Wolf, is a part of our program. So really, we have 2 remaining people, but we need their insight to help rebuild that program. And so that's our next push right now, because I need those volunteers to help supplement us, right? And so they can help do those, enforcing handicap parking, maybe getting into the realm of taking low priority type of calls, maybe delayed theft cases, criminal damages, those type of things where it'll free up an officer to deal with other things. So that's the goal moving forward, but that's that community engagement piece, and just really, myself included, really getting out to community events. I just recently joined the Rotary International to really build relationships in addition to what I already had, but build upon that. And so that's been huge too, to kind of get me out of my shell and get me out into the community, and so always take any opportunity I can to meet with any organization that wants to have me and just talk about these things. And then I'm also encouraging my staff to get out there. Sometimes that's, they just want to go do their job, but I try to put in their minds that we need to listen to what our community members are complaining about, right? It's not what we're always focused on, the assaults and things. It's more of what's the quality of life pieces, the noise complaints, the speeding vehicles. Those are our top complaints, right? So how do we focus on those? So anyway, I know I rambled a little bit, but those are the pieces of that.
Yeah, community engagement and feedback is the most important element of what we do in a community. And so with from a community perspective, these investments that Chief Stirling is mentioning and getting in front of our youth creates and builds a relationship that lasts a lifetime. And so, the relationship they have with their school resource officers allows them a resource, our young students, should they find themselves in a position as a teenager that they're they're like, hey, something's going on, and what should I do? They now have an officer to call and say, hey, this is going on, and maybe steer them in the right direction, which as taxpayers, that saves us all money because it's going to eliminate maybe a potential arrest and a potential court case and all of these things that we as taxpayers pay for, all huge investments. And, Lake Havasu City was created by each one of us. Each one of us has contributed something by rolling up our sleeves and getting to work when we moved here, whether that was 50 years ago as a pioneer or yesterday when you got here. We all do that same thing, and that's what makes our community so great. And having that connection with our law enforcement and our public safety is really important. And for both of your departments, it's filled, the ranks are filled with graduates of Lake Havasu High School, people that have graduated here, that grew up here. It's every time you turn around, there isn't a single person on a call that doesn't have some long-standing commitment to our community. So thank you for your work on those efforts. As part of that, it also helps with some recruitment. And across the city, we've had some recruitment challenges, especially since the pandemic, where the whole work world just upended. So people are able to work from home or remotely, not necessarily in the services we provide, but just allows people flexibility, which allowed people new pathways for careers. And then, of course, there was some public safety took a hit in 2020 with at a national level where who in the world would want to go into that field. And so the council's taken priorities, HR has done some priorities to move things around, but we're strategy people. We're not boots on the ground like the two of you having to deal with it. And so I know you're having some recruitment challenges. If you want to talk about those, maybe Chief Stirling, and then we'll turn it over to you, Pilafas.
Yeah, recruitment, if you follow anything, what's happening in our nation, recruitment in law enforcement has been tough. So we're not, unique to that. But it's hard to find people that are interested in this profession. And I think there's a lot of components to that. If you saw an article or Sheriff Schuster actually hit a lot of key components in it in a speech that he gave. But it's the negative perception about law enforcement. And a lot of it isn't necessarily true, right? There are bad actors that have created some negativity, but that's not the profession as a whole. It's still such a noble profession, but trying to get people to join that it has been really difficult. And so, I would say about 6 months ago, on paper, we were full for police officer positions on paper because we had people in training, that had to go through the academy and those type of things. As of today, we're nine vacancies. So it's just that quick, things change. And there's various reasons for that. There's not one common denominator. But we've been dealing consistently with, okay, we may get 10 people for a testing process, which we did this past week, and 3 show up, all right? And then 1 passes, And so that's the common theme that we're seeing. And I just talked to Sheriff Schuster this week, and same thing. All of our agencies are experiencing that same type of thing. So what do you do? And you see agencies, especially some of the California agencies, they're throwing $40,000, $50,000 hiring bonuses at, just trying to get people in the door. I'm not a big fan of throwing that type of money at a recruitment because I feel like we're bringing people in and then they get their foot in the door and then they leave, right? And so I want people still to get in the profession for the right reasons. And so that's the struggle that we have. I've carried along the legacy that Chief Doyle had. We hire people based on their character and we'll teach them how to do the job. And so we're still looking for those qualities, and some agencies across the country have maybe lowered their standards, and I'm just not willing to do that because I want to hire tough, right? And so I feel like we get more benefit out of that than have problems later on. And so we're sticking to that philosophy. And again, you can go both directions on that. So the recruitment side, we threw a little bit extra money at this. From a trainee perspective, we do a $5,000 training, signing bonus, but that's scattered over a year's time, right? You get an initial, component of that when you get hired, then when you finish the academy, and then when you get off probation. And so we stagger that on to help, keep them here, right? In addition, one of the big things that we've experienced, especially in our community, is cost of living. And so we've had applicants over the years to say, for the amount of money that you pay, I can't afford to live in your city. And so unfortunately, we've lost some, I think, good candidates because of that. So that was just another thing. All right, we're going to throw out a couple $1,000s as an incentive to help you relocate if you're coming here. So just to help offset that a little bit to get their foot in the door. So just little pieces like that. And of course, we really want to, grab lateral officers, especially Arizona laterals, because that costs us less money for the training aspect. But of course, now we're competing with all of our local agencies. And so I feel bad, we've taken some officers from, partner agencies in our region, but we've also lost some to other agencies in our region, so it's like, we're just, robbing from Peter to pay Paul type of concept. And so that hurts a little bit. So now we're, really trying to work on getting outside laterals here as well. And the cost of living is still that little tough piece there. If they don't have any other ties here, what can we do to bring them here, right? And so that's what our struggles have been. So that's the police officer side of it. Dispatch, we're making small incremental improvements. We have 4 in training right now and 3 vacancies. So when we get those 4 off of training, we're going to be in a way better position than we are. Realistically, just based on our full-fledged dispatchers that can do the job, you figure we can't count the trainees yet. That's a 41% deficit in the dispatch center. That's rough, because that is the tough job that they're doing. They're the true first responders. They're the ones that are having that initial contact with citizens, and they're having to work mandatory overtime to fill that center because their job is so unique. I can't go in there and just do that job, right? It takes that specialized training to do that. And so that's where looking at Chief Pilafas and his team working with our dispatch center to really streamline processes any way we can. And that's where we've worked together and looking at how can we streamline some of the medical related type of calls. And so they're currently working on a project right now on that, but always looking at how can we streamline processes to make the job a little bit smoother and easier. But that's our recruitment issues right now.
Yeah, so it's a challenge, and with Chief Stirling and Chief Pilafas, for that matter, it's not that you hire them today and that they're providing services tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about a year for a new academy grad?
Yeah, usually a police officer, it's close to a year before really that they're on their own and of that great value to us. So it's a long process.
Yeah, so a really long process. And so from a council perspective, we've invested the money in the budget that gives flexibility to Jess and the chiefs to be able to put together a plan working with HR on some of these strategies that the chief talks about, a recruitment incentive, benchmarking based on training paradigms. So we're trying to figure out all of these different elements, and it's a battle. But the message here is, if you know anyone that would like to be a police officer or a firefighter, go to our website at lhcaz.gov and apply for a position. Or if you have grandkids or children that you want to move closer to you, we have great positions, and the city is a great place to work. But Chief Pilafas, you've recognized this a couple of years ago and worked really hard in partnerships for a CTE program to kind of address some of yours. So if you want to talk about your recruitment challenges and kind of what you're doing to help solve it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor. The thing is sometimes, and I always joke with the police department, is that they always got in the wrong line because they're all coming to be firefighters. So
Red Cup.
Yeah. So no, we're not immune to that either. We still have some challenges recruiting, but I think the thing is what we're trying to push is that we're investing in our employees. You're our number one asset. We live in paradise, trying to sell the environment and stuff. Cost of living, I agree. It is a little bit obviously higher, but the thing is the council and the city manager and the executive team, we've been making progress to try to fix that. Again, it doesn't happen overnight. So our strategy is we had to change a little bit of our strategies. It's not lowering our standards. We're just going to have to train individuals up to our standards. So one of our success programs was the Career Technical Education Program with the high school. I can't thank the superintendent, the high school, for involving us in this program. It's so essential. I thought the payoff would have been maybe 3-5 years, but I'm happy to announce that we're hiring our first CTE student that started the pilot program 2 years ago. He is starting on Monday. So the thing is, you have a plan, you see it through, and it worked because the thing is, we gave him a career plan. This individual had to go through the fire academy, had to go through EMT. You still need to be marketable to come here. Now, paramedic school, we'll send you to paramedic school. We have budgeted and invested into that. But also our partnership with MCC, giving us credits towards paramedic, so it cuts our costs down because we allow their students to come ride with us to get field experience. So for me, it's all about partnerships. We're all into this together. And having the partnership with MCC and actually the high school has been such a benefit to us because now we can homegrown some of our own. The ones that are staying with their parents, you can have a career here. A little bit different, I can hire at 18 years of age. It's a little bit different at the post because they have to be 21 years of age. So you have that lag. How do you get them to be more involved, engaged? Our new generation wants everything now.
Yesterday. They wanted it yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
and they want to make the biggest money. But the thing is, it's time. And what I try to stress with at least our new recruits and our CTE students is do the work, not the time. All right? And it's just a message of saying you have to do the work. It's not about the time. For us, as an organization, from firefighter, paramedic, it's about 48 months. And that's a golden child that is perfect at all academic and getting everything done. That's a long time. It's clearly almost a 2-year degree. It's education. So what we have done is ask for firefighter, EMT, we'll send you to medic. Or if you're a medic, we'll send you to the fire academy. But I could still utilize that individual to serve the community in some capacity. So that's something that we just changed our strategy, and it's been working for us. Currently, we're down one individual, we're interviewing, and we'll have someone hired. Now, the thing is, long term, all right? I have lots of retirements that are coming down the pipeline that we need to plan for. I want to promote from within, especially my upper positions, and most of my captains, battalion chiefs will be retiring in the next 3 to 4 years, and that's about 13 individuals. So I can't sit back and just wait and say, what are we going to do? I'm working with MCC to get a little bit further education for those positions, to give them the knowledge, skills, and competencies they need to be in those roles. And we actually restructured our job descriptions to take out some of the, not saying requirements or anything. We added requirements that we want you to get if you're going to be in this position, but we also open allowing firefighters to actually get pump qualified and to act as captains too. At the time, in the hierarchy of the fire department, you couldn't act as a captain unless you were an engineer. Well, I only have a small little pool there. So the thing is, why did I open up for the people that want to perform, the ones that want to do the work and not just the time? I want to reward individuals that want to go above and beyond and want to excel. And I share this opportunity with really everybody in our organization this is the golden year. I mean, golden years if you want to advance in this organization, but you're going to have to earn it. I still think we're going to struggle time from time, but I think we have a solid plan. The thing is, if the plan doesn't work, I figure out a different plan. So, and that's the thing is, it's constant work. And someone told me when you became a chief in this job, you'll always have work every single day. It doesn't stop. And that's what I drive my employees. But the thing is, it's a team effort. Not one person has to do it. I need all of them to serve you. So, and I think that's the most important thing. And it's just showing that, you know what, the payoffs, the planning, and getting into the high schools and giving the opportunities for individuals to think about a career and give them that career ladder is they're taking advantage of it. Our program's full. And it's amazing. I've got nothing but great feedback from the community, the schools. It's working. And now we're in the schools giving opportunities and career paths for individuals to basically get hired on the city as a firefighter paramedic. And you know what? This is something that I've always dreamed of doing at my other department, but it just didn't work. And here it's working. And it's having those success stories to share that we're hiring, and we're going to PR a lot of this to show you that it is working. And the thing is, if other communities want to emulate what we'll share it with you because it's working for us. But I cannot do this without the support of the mayor, the council, Jess. But it's all about having a plan and having the data and trying. Because if I don't try, I won't know. We could talk and talk and talk about it, but there needs to be action associated with that. And that's what's nice here is that we have action. We have results. And I'm shocked. I'm like, I had a 10-year plan, and I'm like, then I'm retiring. I'm out of here. I'm like, I got to span that because I'm getting too much done. But these are things about having a progressive chief that wants to keep working for the community because of the love for the community and love for customer service. I'm a servant leader. I love serving people. And that's what I appreciate, having the opportunity here and showing you the results and sharing with you. And these are results that are proud for my entire team. And it's not all about me. I'm just help guiding it. It's my team that is doing the work because they see the vision of it. And I think that's what's so inspiring. And there's sometimes where, employees, we have this love-hate relationship. I think I'm still trying to find that class where they find the hate administration. It's not hate, it's like they get mad at us all the time. But the thing is, we're here to guide you, and we want to help you. You are our main asset, and we need you. And with the recruitment, I say I struggle sometimes. I'm still planning for it, but I'm still getting applicants to come in. But it's really about hiring the right people to serve you, right? Because it is sometimes getting troubling if you don't find it. I don't want a 20-year problem, right? Because then that's a lot of my time that I'm dealing with. So, but we have a great organization. We're headed in the right direction, and we'll always have challenges. We just have to adapt to them.
Yeah, and the CTA program, just watching it and kind of witnessing, as the chief said, it's very inspiring because not only do you see Lake Havasu City firefighters that are facilitating the program, so they're actually teaching the program. So not only are they learning leadership skills and connecting with the community, but the students are so into it. And now, just this is our first success story, way ahead of schedule, that we have someone that's going to be able to, that born, raised here, and is now going to be able to stay here. So it's just creating that generational depth within our community that we weren't afforded to because we're such a new community. We've only been around for a little over 50 years. So, these types of programs are really exciting. On the front of partnerships, everything that we have to do, the reason the partnerships work is we have the right partners in place. So the right leaders in place, the right structures in place. And Chief Pilafas, you've been working with ASU on a patient-focused or patient outcome program, a research project. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your team's doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working with ASU and their School of Public Affairs, and they have a Marvin Andrews Fellowship Program where first-year grad students in their public education administration degree is looking for research projects. So I'll never forget, I was watching my kid practice baseball, and Jess sends me an email, and I work 24/7. So I look at it and he's like, are you interested? I'm like, absolutely. Because there is getting a person that wants to get into local government, wants to learn about it, and is willing to do some research for the best price, free. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, well, why not? So we had to come up with kind of a topic, and a topic that's, when I look at data and stuff, is I look at the more frequency calls. And the thing is, with our older adult population here, we have a lot of invalid assists. Now, invalid assist can be mobile issues. You fell and you're not hurt, and we need to help you up, which is perfectly fine, but I need to look at ways of reducing it. So our research is going to look at identifying strategies to reduce the burden on emergency response and fall victims in the older adult population in Lake Havasu City. Perfect, right? So the thing is, we have a controlled population. I'll say controlled is, I know where all the samples are going to be. So we're also working with not even ASU, just with this one grad student. We're working with the Havasu Community Health Foundation too. They're going to assist us with this. So it's like a combination of how are we going to get this data and understand and do our research. This research is going to probably span for at least about a year to 2 years. But the thing is, it's going to give this grad student some experience about doing research, looking at data and making decisions and coming up with strategies. And we might find during our research that we already have some successful programs. Maybe they're just not publicized. Or we can maybe partner with a hospital that can actually put some funding towards this, because it's really for the community. And it's actually just kind of reducing our burden on going to those calls when we could be responding to real emergencies. Or the research is going to be, I guess, great, fun, and interesting, but it's also a learning experience for this grad student that this individual can work with the city of Lake Havasu, and we're having that partnership with ASU. So if there's further grad students and we have further research projects that we can work for, they'll be like, hey, we worked with the chief over there. It was a great experience. I learned a lot, understand it a lot, and actually the end result, they did something with it. So I look forward to working with this individual and the partnership we have. We're still kind of in our infant stage, but we're making progress towards it.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, these are just things that get to happen through these partnerships and these conversations and the like. So we have in our budget this year, it's actually one of my favorite budgets that we've done that I've been involved in, because there's lots of great priorities that we've been able to address in there. So we've been able to address some of these strategies for recruitment from a financial perspective. We've been able to do investments in our roads. We have $10 million in addition to our traditional road program in our program for local roads. We have a lot of equipment and infrastructure, including police cruisers and refurbs and the like. We have equipment for parks and recreation, all done with no debt financing, not increasing the property tax rate at all, and no new tax at all through this process. So we've been able to make really good investments through careful planning. Jess and his team, the chiefs included, have laid out over the last several years at the direction of council to make these investments without creating additional resources. Resources in that term is money. And the only way we get money is we either have to tax or we have to figure out a way to reduce that spending. And so it's a really exciting budget, but one of the most exciting things in that budget for Chief Pilafas is Fire Station 7. And that's a long-awaited fire station up on Sloop and McCulloch that was identified not only as a need for an additional station, but the chief also had the personnel go through and say, are the stations even located in the right spots? And if not, where should they be located? And the good news is they're located in the right spots. And Station 7 is also slated for the correct spot for an additional station. So, Chief, I don't want to steal all your thunder because I know you're super excited about it. So you want to talk a little bit about Station 7?
Yeah, a little bit about it. I appreciate the support from council, the public for Station 7, because it is needed. It was identified in the study that there is a gap there for our response for areas there. I don't want to call it the Foothill Station because it's Lake Havasu Station. It's going to service that area and actually take some of the workload off of Station 1, 3, and 4. And the thing is, right now we're working with Public Works procurement to go through the procurement process of laying out our tentative schedule of getting an architect and engineer, and then we're going to do a CMAR, which is a construction management at risk contract. So we're going to get an architect to sign it, and then we're going to actually get a contractor to look at how much it's going to cost us with a max guarantee price on it.
Yeah, so, Chief, if I may, that's the same process we did with the courthouse, where we got it in on time, on budget, and on schedule. So I just want to correlate with something that's actually happened. We know it works. The Chief's going to follow that same plan.
It's something that works, and we're going to go with it. The thing is, we are the fire department just working closely with the team. I've already had everything pretty much laid out. We have a basic floor plan. And the thing is, this is a functional station that's going to blend in with the community. So the thing is, there will be input in regards to the design of it, but we have the layout of what it is. And one of the biggest thing is our storage. Having apparatus space to put our rigs. I have some rigs that actually have to sit outside because I don't have, or underneath a cover shade, but the thing is, that's why we're building it for a little bit bigger for apparatus bay. So just really, I'll say, like very big RV garages, but they'll just kind of build right into the community. And it's going to be a great addition to assist with response times, coverage, another added resource. So we're excited about this. I'm excited. It's taken some time because, like, when I first came here, I think that was like one of the first questions, where's Station 7? And I'm like, it's somewhere. But the thing is, it just takes time and planning. And the thing is, like the mayor said, is When we did our study, we analyzed the entire department to look at the locations of our current stations, and are they in sufficient areas? Because if they weren't, then why we would have to adjust that. But based on the founding fathers, they actually did a real good job about placing the stations, and that was a great location for Station 7. So we look forward to that. When we talk about purchasing, and we'll get into that with rigs and stuff, but we already have that apparatus ready for that station when it gets built. So I think we'll give more updates when it gets closer, but right now we're in the procurement process, and hopefully everything, at least this fiscal year, we'll have all the RFPs and hopefully sign a contract by probably the end of June or so. And then we can get into the phase of the design and building it next fiscal year. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great for this community.
Yeah, really exciting. It's been a priority for many, many years. Excited to be able to bring that forward. So we have a lot of the things that we do within the city can be augmented by grants. And so we have over the last 12 to 18 months, we've been increasing our grant process. And so Anthony Kozlowski oversees our grants department. Vijay Sari is our grants manager. Heidi Hernandez is in our grants department as well. And they're out seeking different grants for different things, which you could imagine is quite a feat, because we're just talking with two chiefs. They're just two members of the executive team. We have public works and parks and recreation and vehicle maintenance, finance. We have all sorts of different groups that they also want some grant money too. So through the grants department, they're finding lots of things, but we've had a lot of success this last year in public safety for both of these gentlemen's departments. So Chief Stirling, we have some success with some SLIF grants that we've had, and we're actually seeing things from it now. And you have a couple of grant applications coming up on our next council agenda as well, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, grants have been good this year, actually. Talking about the SLIF grant, that was the grant funding that our Representative Biasucci and Senator Borelli were able to push for to get that funding back to us, specifically in Mojave County. And so 2 years ago now, we ordered a brand new boat. It finally got delivered last Friday. And so that's here. But it's because our fleet is aging, and we have, 2001, 2007, vessels out there. And anybody know the acronym for BOAT, right? Yeah. Bring out another 1,000, right? Well, that's no different in law enforcement, right? And because we have so much use of those, the cost of maintenance continues to increase. Well, the SLIP funding was able to get us that new boat and also outfit one of our older boats with new engines. And so what we'll be able to do with that is put that in service, and we'll be able to essentially eliminate one of our older ones from the fleet that's really costing us a lot of money in maintenance. So that's one component of the SLIF funding, and we anticipate that to continue, hopefully. But just, if I could, just piggyback off of some of the other grants. One of the ones that, and really was Chief Pilafas' idea and conversation bringing it to me, had to do with putting AEDs in our police cars. And we tend to be sometimes a first responder on medical related calls. And there's been numerous occasions where officers begin life-saving measures, specifically with CPR. But statistics show that AEDs, having those on scene quicker, potentially can help save lives even better, right? And so with that, it was kind of a no-brainer with being able to put AEDs in our car because they're so easy to use nowadays, right? We already incorporate Narcan in our patrol vehicles, and so just having a kit that essentially houses an AED machine, our Narcan, and the kit, the gear to go with that, it was very simple. And so Chief Blobs actually started it with finding some grant funding opportunity for that, and so we're currently in that process of seeking out and asking for a number of AEDs put into our cars. So that's exciting on that, and always looking at ways to help, right? But over this past year, we received some grants from essentially Homeland Security, dealing with anything having a border nexus, dealing with our fentanyl problems and the drug issues. And so we were able to get some grant funding to get us a couple more vehicles, some drones, some technological type of equipment that just costs money. And so it was very nice to be able to help get some of those things without cutting into our operations budget. And so those are key things that we're going to continue to look on. And yeah, the grants team has been great. Budget works hand in hand with Stephanie and our department to really seek out these things and hey, what about this? What about this? And so there's some things that we're going to be looking for in this next year to hopefully grab a hold of those. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, the grants department is just doing a really fantastic job getting out there and ensuring that we have access to different things. So these are some examples of public safety, but we also have lots of grants. We had a $290 million grant for water treatment plants that was before council a couple of months ago with Bureau of Reclamation. So I mean, really big picture projects all the way down to smaller things that just make a difference in the lives of our citizens. So great work on the grants department. Before we move over, we have just a couple more things we want to talk about. I'm going to take a little bit of the time of your questions just because both chiefs have taken advantage of taking our vehicle fleets. So they both have very unique and different fleets that are very, very expensive. So it's not just us going to buy a car, which those are expensive too, but these vehicles are really pricey. So they've Chief Pilafas started with a refurb program for rigs, and then Chief Stirling is kind of that opened up his mind for different opportunities too. So I'll let you just kind of both talk about your refurb programs. Maybe we'll start with Chief Pilafas.
Yeah, sure. The refurb program actually was an idea that what came up with is because of the delay in purchasing new rigs. So again, this has always been an idea that I had at my other organization, but it just didn't come to fruition. So I laid out a plan and presented it to council, presented it to Jazz Finances that this might be a better way to extend our current assets at a more reasonable cost and actually get another, 5 to 10 more years out of that piece of apparatus. So we started researching. There's a company out of Vegas that we use, Fire Trucks Unlimited, that actually do a full refurb. That's a new, and it's from the original manufacturer specs. So when they do a refurb, they have to bring that rig back up to its original specs. So that's basically a new block, new engine, new trans. They look and inspect all the pump. They do all the rewiring on it, shock, suspension, the pump. And we know the price of a new rig has increased drastically over the period of time. And I've been in the fire service for 28 years, and I remember when rigs were $250,000, and then they crouched up to $500,000, and now we're approaching $1.2 million, and it's 4 years out. So it's you saw kind of like the effects of the shortages and the supply chain issues, and I call them excuses. But the thing is, it's just like, well, what happened? It's like now you have your whole workload for 20 years. And now I have this delay. So it's just like, all right, well, what does a refurb take? Well, we could do it in 8 months. How much is it? Well, $300,000. Well, why wouldn't I try this and do this? So we actually tried our first one, and it came out, I feel, excellent. I mean, sometimes we get mix of opinions because obviously change, they don't like it, and they don't like the way things are. But the thing is, it's worked. So we tried our next one. And some of the refurbs that we're doing are pre-emission. The emissions is actually putting an additional $70,000 onto the purchase of new rigs now. And I would love to legislate all the way up to Washington saying, hey, exempt us like you do the military. All right, why do I have to have those emissions on an emergency response rig? Because we've had problems with our emissions that would down our rigs. And I share this story because it's pretty interesting, is that we had a DEF filter that was out and we couldn't get it. It was on back order. Well, we called the ADEQ and say, hey, we're going to delete it. And they're like, guess what? That filter showed up next day. So it's just kind of like, whoa, it's just like, well, what's the plan? But the refurb program is taking a current asset and basically bringing it, relifing it. And it's saving taxpayers money. And I think that's important, that we have to try this and think outside the box, but not too far outside the box. And I think that's what has allowed us to come up with these new ideas and stuff and see how it works. And that's like even with our support trucks. And I won't share that story, and you want to do it. I got the idea that like, hey, well, let's start doing support trucks too. because I could figure I can actually do 3 refurbs at the cost of 1 new rig. So, and if they're already pre-emission, I don't have to worry about those emissions on it because they have to bring it up to that spec. So the thing is, the program, we'll keep analyzing it, figuring it out. Like this budget season, we're looking at possibly refurbing one of our trucks. A new truck right now is about $2.2 million and about 5 years out. All right, I can get one of my trucks refurbed probably just under $1 million and maybe 18 months. So those are things that I just need to look at. But just trusting us that we're doing the right thing for our community. So,
Troy. Yeah, and then Chief Stirling, you then took a look at yours too, and you have programs working on your end as well.
Yeah, so we had a, what was that, 2009, 2005, the Expedition? 5? Okay, it was an older SUV, right? And it had been already on the books as being removed from our fleet, but because we can't get vehicles in a timely manner, like this might be a good one to test out. We found a company out of California that does refurbish on police vehicles. They love to do Crown Victorias, but those are kind of going by the wayside now, and we're in the Explorer mode. So like, well, let's try a refurb on this Expedition. And so we got it back. They were touting they could get it done in 6 weeks, and essentially it's a rebuild of this vehicle, repainted, the whole works. It came back to us like, wow, this is the same vehicle. It looks amazing, and so that's now part of our animal control. Senior officer, he drives that. We're like, okay, we like the product. So we asked them recently about our current Ford Explorers that the police officers drive, because they get run hard. And so said, yeah, anything like a 2015 model and above we can do. Well, it just so happens we have one that has a blown motor already. So let's try that. So again, yeah, with Jess, his permission, we're going to look at sending that off and hopefully get that product back before we go into the next budget. And if we can get, essentially it's going to be half the price of what a brand new outfitted police car is. If we can get 2 for 1 and get them in a 2-month period, potentially, that's going to be huge for us. And so, yeah, just really, the refurbish idea really started with Chief Pilafas, and then we just kind of ran with it in a different direction. And I think it's going to be successful. And so I'm really excited about that, because like I said, we need cars. And, the current rate right now, Ford and Chevy went on strike for a little bit, so that just postponed, getting other vehicles that we have already ordered. So if we can figure out another way to handle business, that's what we want to do. So.
Yes, the message there is we're solutions oriented. Yeah. If you put a problem in front of us, we're going to solve it. And this is an example of the Chiefs both doing something along those lines, but it's replicated throughout the entire city. Just in his team and working alongside council, that's what we do. I described lately that my job as mayor is I solve other people's problems, and that's really what I do all day long. And we just bring solutions to things that are in somebody's way, and that's really what we're after. So what we'll do now is we're going to transition to questions from our citizens. But before I do, Chief Pilafas, I just learned this. We talked about the Hazardous Household Waste Day, and it's coming up on December 9th over at Station 2. But I just learned that Chief Pilafas is actually on the hook for the whole thing. Like he's the one that makes it happen. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, Chief, while we get everyone moving to transition.
So thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I just take the lead because of the location where it's at is at Station 2 at 2065 Kiowa Boulevard. This is actually a combination with Republic Services and the city. The whole purpose of this is to prevent hazardous waste to getting into our dump, to give the longevity of our dump, and stop the disposal of hazardous waste in our desert. So this is a great program. We understand that it's limited, all right? And there are basically acceptable items and unacceptable items that you can get on our website. But acceptable items are paint, max of 15 gallons, auto parts, filters, batteries, and oily rags and stuff like that. Fluid. Auto fluid like transmission fluid, coolant, a max of 30 gallons. Other chemicals like your aerosol cans and stuff like that, we will accept. Batteries, fluorescent tubes, for lighting, and then computers, DVDs, tires. There's a limit of 4 off the rim. So this can all be found on our website. I just want to kind of highlight some of the areas that we are accepting. The things that we're not accepting is pesticide, poisons, corrosives, pharmaceutical, broken lights. So the thing is, there is a limited, because there's a cost associated with this too. Because I have to report this to ADEQ. So we are a site that collects hazardous waste, but it's all regulated. And I think it's so important that you take advantage of this. It is between 8 and 12, and it will be appropriately signed. We've been doing it for the last 2 years, and you're going to come off of College Street in the back, and we have police officers. And what we're going to try this year is, when we know it's time to cut it off, is not have anybody wait and say, hey, cut it off. I guess some individuals might not have been too friendly because they're waiting in line, and we're like, hey, we got to cut it off. But it's just because they're full. But we've met our capacity of how much they can actually take. But the good thing is, we are trying to work with Republic Service and us to do 2 a year. So maybe something in the springtime of 2024. So the thing is, it just depends on how much quantity of hazardous waste, and it's staying kind of consistent. With our winter visitors, you do some winter clean out. So another thing that I have to stress, this is for Lake Havasu residents. You're going to have an ID or one of your service bills for your water. So I just try to be transparent. Just get the information out to make sure that you guys are realizing. But take advantage of this. This is important to save and put some longevity into our landfill, and properly dispose of the hazardous waste that you have. So I always appreciate taking the lead on it, because it's something I'm passionate about too, is making sure that our environment's clean here, and we extend or let's just say dispose of things right.
And it also takes hazards out of your home that our first responders might have to encounter if something happens there. So really great program. And thank you, Chief, for being on the hook for all of that stuff. Had no idea he was, but fantastic. So gentlemen, I think we did a great job being type A personalities actually being confined to a chair. We weren't sure if that was going to work. As you know, we mostly move about the floor. So we are going to transition to the floor as I introduce my colleagues on council. We have Vice Mayor David Lane joining us today. Thank you. And Vice Mayor Lane will take the microphone around for the questions portion of this morning. I also have Councilmember Cameron Moses joining us. Thank you, Councilmember Moses. Councilmember Jenny Koch, thank you for being here. And with that, Vice Mayor Lane will take the mic around, and we'll go from there. Yes.
Thank you. I just have a couple announcements for Mojave Community College. The first is in January, we have a couple new classes starting, beginning photography and an evening ceramics classes twice a week. Also, we have MCC Shines, which is free to the community. It's free pictures with Santa, free food, ornament making, and we have our lighting ceremony along with voting for our decorated trees. And that is December 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I was hoping maybe you could just expand on where some of the funding sources are coming from for the grants.
Yeah, great question. So there's lots of different funding sources. I'll talk about the biggest tranche is the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and that's the biggest thing that then levels down to different departments. So as Bureau of Reclamation was the water grant I talked about at $290 million. The two grants that will be in front of council this next council meeting is coming from the Arizona State Parks and Trails grant. That was the AED, and we also have a police ranger. So that we can assist with rescues or incidents that occur outside in the city limits, but off of improved roadways. So there's a large variety. The state also has a lot of different grants that are available, and then different organizations within the state. So that we call it the state, and the state legislature has allocated the monies, but then it could be like through the Arizona Department of Housing, which then has money that goes through the Mojave County Housing Authority, which then can come to communities. We have the CDBG funding. So there's lots of of different areas that are coming through. But the biggest area for opportunity is that large federal bill that passed a year and a half or 2 years ago. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement also. The Marine Corps League is doing their annual Christmas tree lot. We're in the CBS parking lot. If you want a live tree, we've got the best in the city. They come from Oregon. They're always fresh. Come down and get a tree.
Yeah, thank you, Kim, for all of the work that the Marine Corps League does. There's another thing that the Marine Corps League is doing, and it's even before it's hot off the press. So stay tuned to the press to get the actual details. But next Thursday is Pearl Harbor Day, and the Marine Corps League took the lead in getting a relic of the USS Arizona from Pearl Harbor. It's a large, very impactful piece of the USS Arizona that will be put on permanent display down at London Bridge Beach Park next to the 9/11 Memorial. And we will be having ribbon cutting, groundbreaking fundraising effort to build the structure. It's really magnificent, but there'll be pictures down there. The bombing occurred between 7:48 and 7:55 a.m. And so it will be an early tribute that we'll do probably right around that 7:50 mark on Thursday, December 7th, London Bridge Beach Park, right adjacent to the 9/11 Memorial, all led by the Marine Corps League. So thank you for that. And more details to come in the paper, but that's what we know so far.
I'd like to ask the fire chief, what is the day of the hazardous waste disposal? And is your management team taking part, and who are your management team members?
Okay, it is Saturday, December 9th between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. This is actually ran by Republic Service and EFR, the contractor that disposes of the hazardous waste. It's a combination with Public Works is taking care of the signage. Our wonderful CERT team is actually volunteering, helping guide traffic. The police department is involved in the traffic control off of College. So I would have to answer your question. Yes. I wouldn't say exactly my management team, but the city and Republic are working together to host this event. So myself, my on-duty battalion chiefs, my captains that are on duty that day.
Yeah, so the fire department, the question was about, what's the leadership structure look like for maybe the fire department? And so the fire department's led by Chief Pilafas. He has two deputy chiefs. So you have an operations chief and
we have a soon-to-be administration. We have a fire marshal. We have our battalion chiefs, then our captains, engineers, and then firefighters.
Yeah, so they have a very defined structure that is rich in history, dating back over 250 years, very similar to the police department. If you want to maybe talk about your structure, Chief Stirling, and kind of how you're structured as well.
Yeah, our structure is the chief, two captains, one over operations, one over support services. Then I go into 5 lieutenants, and then sergeants. We have some corporals for patrol, and then it breaks off into specialized units from there.
Yeah, and we have all the same specialized units you see on TV. We just don't go out and promote it. We just go handle the issues and go back home. So,
my question is for the fire chief. You mentioned when you were talking about EMTs that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you say there are EMTs, and then you mentioned 2 fire stations. Does that mean the other fire stations don't have EMTs?
No. Then this is what I love. I want to make sure information is not missed. So our current staffing model is that we have a minimum staffing of 21 on day. Now we have firefighters and firefighter paramedics. The majority of our department is firefighter paramedics. So that's cross-trained. They can go do fire suppression and they can do their paramedicine. An EMT is at its basic level, all right? So in the structure of emergency medical, I have my EMT and then I have my paramedic. So basic, advanced. So I'm not sure why I said 2 stations. If you were talking about our medical transport program, so it was 2 ambulances based on our CON would be at Station 1 and Station 2 to cover the city. And they would be equipped with paramedics, firefighter paramedics.
Yeah, so Station 1 is just adjacent to City Hall right here. It's on Acoma. And then Station 2 is on Kiowa, where the hazardous household waste day is going to be. So one on each side of the community would allow that to station out. The way that ambulance services works is AMR has a fleet, and they kind of move their fleet up and down the river. So they're broader. Their CON is broader than Lake Havasu City. What the chief is talking about is only going to be in Lake Havasu City limits. So we're here to augment how they move their fleet up and down the river. We have one strategically located, if approved, on the north end of our community and the south end at already approved stations. So that's in its initial stages. In the future, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we don't know what that would be. We have to look at the success of the actual operation. We know that the study supports it. We know the data supports it. But then you have to operate it, and does the operation support it? And that's what we'll go from there.
Good morning. Mayor, I just have two questions. Has anything come back on design of the new bridge? And the other one, you have a whole bunch of new docks sitting on the dirt next to the channel. Just curious where they're going.
Sure. Yeah. So the design of the new bridge, or the second bridge, we've talked about that in the past. Representative Biasucci really led the way on this effort, but couldn't have done it obviously without the support of Senator Borelli and Representative Gillette to really bring funding to the district in the tune of $35.5 million to build a second bridge across to the island. It's an important piece of infrastructure that we wouldn't be able to afford on our own. So we're really grateful for that. As I've explained in the past, there's the kind of two pathways that we're working on right now, and it's very awkward the way that it happened, because in the last budget session, they were able to allocate $200,000 for the study, and the study was going to be construction documents, renderings, what it's going to look like, land planning from an island perspective, what could happen on the island in the next 50 years that this bridge would then support, and all of that was occurring right now. And then the legislature, they saw an opportunity, they being Representative Biasucci, saw an opportunity to say, hey, we can get this funding now, let's do it. They did it, we're successful, got the governor's signature. And so as we're doing that study, the money comes in to build the bridge. And so we're working two parallel pathways. We're doing that study, which you'll start to actually see some outreach in January as citizens to give your input and those types of things. And then we'll, towards next fiscal year, we'll be able to start seeing and selecting what the bridge is going to look like, because we'll have prices on it. So that's the update on the second bridge. And then when it comes to the docks that you see in the channel, there is an application currently in with the Army Corps of Engineers and Lake Havasu City from London Bridge Resort to replace the docks that they have in their area. And those are running through that process. And as soon as those permits are approved or applications are accepted, then the new docks are staged currently for that private entity to be able to do that development. And for full disclosure, I am the general manager of London Bridge Resort, but I'm going through all the same processes, and that was an answer from the mayor's office, not from London Bridge Resort.
Are you going to enlarge the marina?
There will be additional docks as well. We don't have the final approvals yet, but there will be some additional docks that expand beyond what is currently there today.
Mayor, I would just like to ask, how many terms can a mayor serve in a row?
Well, thank you so much for the question. The mayor in Lake Havasu City, to code, we have no term limits. So our terms are for 4 years, and we have 7 members of the council. 4 members of those council, including the mayor, are on every 2-year interval. So this next year, 2024, we'll have an election. There'll be 3 council positions that are going to be available for re-election or for election. And then in 2026, 2 years from there, there'll be 4 positions, 3 council members and the mayor. mayor will go up again in 2026. Now, you asked in a row, you can be the mayor if the citizens would like to accept the person running for mayor as many times as they want to run and they get elected, but it doesn't have to be concurrent. So it doesn't have to be in a row. We actually had Mayor Richard Heilman, in the 90s that ran. He actually ran in the 80s and then ran again in the 90s, and he was mayor both times, but not in a row. But he was mayor several times. But yeah, thank you for the question.
Chief Pilafas, I got to tour the fire station 2 last week. I would like to thank you for allowing the Lake Havasu Homeschool Co-op to be able to tour the fire station.
You're welcome anytime that you want to come and visit. And if you want to pick up an application in about 10 years, come on by.
Slow down.
Yeah.
I was already recruiting.
What is the cause of most house fires these days?
So that's a great question. The most house fires are due to cooking. All right. That's the statistic, is most of them due to cooking. So that the most important thing is, how do you prevent a house fires or cooking fires? My question is going right back to you. This is a learning opportunity since you're in school.
To turn off the oven when you stop cooking?
Yes, and you tell your mom to pay attention. And you tell your dad not to cook. But you always help Mama.
Chief Stirling, how does a chief get appointed or elected?
Man, well, appointed. So the current process that I went through last year was I went up against 4 other candidates that had interest in this position, and we go through multiple interview processes and have to present something based on a topic that was given to us a week in advance, and we have to present in front of a panel. And so throughout that whole process, then ultimately feedback is given to the city manager, and the city manager ultimately has that decision on appointing somebody as the police chief. Does that answer your question, young man?
Yes.
Okay.
How has your experience as the police chief been so far?
It's been really good. It's hard to believe. We were talking about earlier that it's been almost a year, but it's because of good people like your father, all right, that work for me, that go out and do a great job every day. So.
I'm curious, it's been quite absent information about the Catalyst project. I understand some bids were returned, but getting very little feedback on it.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. It is actually timely because bids just did get returned, and they talked about it during the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting on Monday about what had occurred. So when, as part of the process with Dig Studio, they put out cost estimates of what it should cost for this area, and they also had talked to a variety of different potential vendors or builders that would build it as they went through that process. And it could have been maybe just timing in the way that the timing worked of when the bid documents went out. You know, the chief talked a little bit about procurement earlier. That process takes a long time. And so through that process, there's really strict deadlines that have to be met. So as you go through those different components, all based on state statute and our city code. And when we put it out, we received 1.5 bids, I'll call it. Was it 1.5 bids, Vice Mayor Lane? Yeah, so we'll call it 1.5. One that met all of the criteria, and then kind of a half-hearted one. And so that's not good enough for that area in our community. So we're going to take that back and go solicit additional bids and find out where the people that were at the front end of it during the cost estimate part, where they went now. And so we're bringing all those people back together. So that's where we're at now. So there's not a real huge update because it's just kind of behind the scenes procurement stuff to ensure that we have the best information in front of us to actually have a public conversation about that. But that's where we stand now. Yeah. And so we'll wrap up here with this final question.
Oh my, we're in trouble. Good morning. Thank you very much for hosting coffee. I greatly appreciate all the coffee. And I had a couple of odd questions. I hope they were questions. You mentioned community information, all of you at one point or another in your discussions asked or stated that you needed to inform the community more of information. You also said that you needed to, things were going to be in the newspaper, but the newspaper is not the only place people get information from anymore. And a lot of people aren't paying for the newspaper subscription. So when you're only relying on the newspaper, I was just wondering what other ways you could share the information. You just mentioned the amazing Pearl Harbor Memorial thing that you're going to do, and you're expecting people to be able to read that information in the newspaper. I don't know how many people are going to read it in the newspaper, and they're not going to know about it. I just looked at your city calendar, and it's not on the city calendar website.
All right, so Ms. Toy, I got you. You bring this up at Call to the Public at every meeting as well. So social media is one of the avenues. I know you are a social media fiend, and we can appreciate that. We do post on social media certain different elements, but we use a variety of different avenues for outreach. We use press releases. We don't actually control the newspaper. So the articles in the newspaper, they're not controlled by the city in any way or written by the city, but they are recipient of our press releases, as are about 100 other entities that get our press releases, including syndication on radio, other print medias, as well as social media as one. Then community outreach like this. But if you are talking about the ceremony on Thursday for Pearl Harbor Day, I did preface that by saying it's before it even hit the press. It's from a meeting that I had late last night, and so it hasn't even moved forward yet. But we do it through a variety of ways. Social media is not the only way, and we also are on a lot of different social media sites as it goes from there. So a couple of final thoughts before we go. Of course, I'm going to end with fun facts for all of us, but there's a community dinner coming up on the 8th of December. That is a community dinner done by the community for the community at the community center, at the Aquatic Center. Two servings, one at 4 p.m. and one at 6 p.m. We expect 500 people at each session. So really, really busy, but it's free for anyone that wants to come. Bring the family down. Santa will be there. The MC Motorcycle Club riders will be there as well, giving out toys. They'll be doing a toy drive this weekend, so you'll see a lot of motorcycles on Sunday. Be very cautious out there. They're coming all the way up from Parker's Den on their ride up to the downtown Main Street area. We also have a Sledding with Santa event on December 15th, 5 to 8 p.m. Cookies, sleds, and hot cocoa put on by Parks and Recreation. Our Christmas tree lighting at Wheeler Park is going to be this Sunday, December 2nd. So it's Sunday, December 2nd, 6 p.m. at Wheeler Park. Santa will be there. I'll read a book that actually Trudy gave me a much better version. Thank you, Trudy. And then we also have hot cocoa. The fire department will be there as well, and so will Santa. And then the Boat Parade of Lights, normally is the weekend after Thanksgiving, which would be this weekend. It's not this weekend. It's going to be next Saturday, the 9th of December. It will also showcase the new fireboat, or maybe?
Maybe.
Oh, he was hopeful.
He was hopeful.
And then, of course, today is the First Friday. Join us down on McCulloch for the First Friday event. Okay, a couple of things. Before I go into the fast facts, they're going to be fast facts about public safety, of course, because that's what our focus was today. But, the coffee with the mayor and city manager is a production. You wouldn't think so, because we just come here. It's kind of informal. We have some coffee. We have some donuts. And we just have conversation, which is great. But there are so many things that come to us. So we like to give you a little glimpse into behind the scenes of what occurs during our time together. So just to have the coffee with the mayor, we have our our facility maintenance crews have to be involved to get the facility ready. I know it seems like, why wouldn't it just be ready? It's not ready. Things have to move about for that. And so this morning we had Tommy Tocktrop and Mark Smith were part of that today. But so facility maintenance is available. We then have to schedule our rooms. And for those of you that come on a regular basis, you know that there was a period we couldn't have coffee for a while because this room was overscheduled, which is why we're really excited to have the other community room. We also, no coffee can happen without Jerry Bracamani in the back. Thank you, Jerry. And then Steve Blake in the control room. That's what it makes all of the things happen for all of you watching online on social media or here, not here in person, but that's why in person sometimes it's like, why are you guys being silent? Well, we're waiting for the control room to get it live so everyone else can see it as well. And then, of course, there's lots of coordination between the city department heads. And so I'd like to thank both Chief Pilafas and Chief Stirling for joining me today. You guys did a fantastic job. It's always great to showcase what you're doing. All right, so a couple of fun facts. We have, at the police department, we had an employee, former retired detective, that was a professional Major League Baseball player. He played for the New York Mets, Seattle Mariners, and Minnesota Twins. He retired after 25 years of service with the police department. We have an officer that recently played football for the University of Miami that's on the department. He was a punter for 4 years and then decided to join in law enforcement. So these are the real faces behind those serving the community. And we have a corporal that was inducted into the Minot University Hall of Fame in 2013 for football. He was a prominent quarterback for the university. He set season passing and touchdown records, and he finished his 2-year career with 5,571 passing yards and 53 touchdowns in 2 years. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, fun stuff. So now in fire, year to date, the average number of calls per day is 27 on average. We have 5,630 medical calls. 1,228 service calls. Our average response time is 4.55 minutes for response. We've had 452 false alarms, which we don't know their faults until we get there, and so we still had to roll out. And then we had over 1,600 fire inspections. So that's inspecting places of public accommodation or places that are open for business to ensure that they're safe. So with that, we wish you all a very happy holiday season. We will not have coffee in January because of the New Year holiday, so we'll see you all back here the first Friday of February. Happy holidays. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.